short week.
Yeah.
Well, get like a Monday on crack when they have a, a holiday on, at least in the finance industry, you get to work and you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
You just have to compress 5 days of work into 4.
Yeah, yeah. And there's been like a lot of weddings lately. Is everyone just like,
It's wedding season.
oh my God.
Full on.
And nobody wants them easy. Like they're like Montrose and Colorado City. And they're like, oh, okay. 75 hours.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting to see if Karen or Denise will join us, I wanted to just thank Sky for the really extraordinary minutes that we're receiving. One of the things I learned when I first was involved is it was hard to really make sense of the conversations that had occurred and the decisions that had been made in reviewing minutes, and these minutes really would help anybody coming in as a guest to a meeting or as a presenter or somebody new to the board to understand what's happened in the most recent past. So Sky, thank you for that. I know it's a lot of work, but I thank you for that. And maybe we should just go ahead and get started with introductions. So I will call the meeting to order, recognizing we do not yet have a quorum. Call the meeting to order at 10:04 Pacific time, 11:04 Mountain time, and begin with a welcome. It's great to have this group together. There's been a lot of work since our last meeting, and I appreciate all that's been put into it, especially by Shaylee, Chris's help, and of course, Sky keeping things together. The walkabout downtown, which will help us as we look to possible items for our Rural County Opportunities Grant proposal. So thank you all for that. Welcome, Mary and Quinn. We're just we just called the meeting to order, but we're waiting for one more voting member so that we have a quorum. But let's begin with introductions. And Mimi, I have not met you, but I'm Forrest Rogers, and I'm the museum director, and have the honor of serving as chair of this advisory board. So would you begin with yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mimi Drozdetsky. I'm the new Vista with the Economic Development Department. I'll primarily be helping out with community engagement efforts for the strategic planning process and other processes as needed. So yeah, looking forward to you all.
Welcome.
Welcome.
We're excited to have you.
I guess if you all would just start around the table, because I can't see everybody right now. So
Biga Metzner Moab to Monument Valley Film Commissioner.
Kima Johnson, USU, SBDC.
I'm Quinn Hall from the Commissioner Administrator's Office and temporarily filling in. Maybe I'll finish it if I need to.
Shaylee Bryant. I'm the secretary of this board, and I'm the chamber representative.
Wonderful. And Chris?
Mary McGann, Commissioner.
Chris Wilson, private sector representative, member of this board.
Maybe.
And Skyway Economic.
In here.
Thank you. That's all of us here at the moment. We're waiting for one person to. Anyone that's only representative.
Yeah, Karen. We're expecting Karen.
Do you have it? Somebody, I think I have her phone number. It's texted.
While you're searching for Karen, let's move on so we can get to our agenda as quickly as possible as soon as Karen or Denise arrive. I call for any conflicts of interest, disclosures, or ex parte communications to be presented. And hearing and seeing none, we'll move to citizens' to be heard. And the only citizen we need right now to be heard from is Karen or Denise. So we'll move along. We don't have any formalized presentations outside of the agenda topics. Quinn, I understand you are about to relinquish your title as Interim Economic Development Director.
Yes, I am. We, as you know, we've had the position open for about a month and a half now. And we started interviews last week. We selected a candidate and he has accepted. His name is Ben Frederick. He lives in Moab about half-time, in Colorado the other half. He will be making the transition to Moab full-time, we're happy to say. He brings a wealth of large business experience to the role, and we're very excited to have him on board. So really think he'll be key in helping drive specifically the Better Destinations strategic plan. We're very hopeful with that. So
We get to meet him.
we have a tentative start date right now, the 18th.
Yeah, he gave us 2 weeks on Friday.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Good work, guys. It's a lot of work to do the interviews.
His wife is a longtime resident of Grand County. She's Lynn, it used to be Lynn Wilson, Robin and Bates Wilson's daughter.
Sounds like he's married to Canyonlands royalty.
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for that update, Quinn. Appreciate that, and appreciate I don't know whether this was your third, fourth, or fifth extra duty, but thank you for keeping us on track during this period of time. And I know you'll stay connected with Ben and the staff. So thanks for all that.
You bet, for sure.
First, one other announcement. Yesterday was the grand opening of the Student Career Success Center, the high school's alternative school that's based at the Moab Community Resource Center. I would like to suggest we get an update on that from Kari or someone else at the high school at our next meeting later this month. But that's exciting news, and you all are in large part responsible, along with the county, for helping to jumpstart that really important effort for the community and for our economy. The first formal item on the agenda is consideration of future agenda items. And I think it's really important to look ahead for two reasons. One is the Rural Counties Opportunity Grant that we've previously discussed and must be submitted to the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity by November 15th, 16th, or 17th, whichever is the Friday of that week. I want to thank those of you who attended the walkabout on Main Street. I've had the benefit of reviewing the summaries or experiences or observations from Sky and Chris, and appreciated those. And that was driven by a suggestion that we find ways to support and work with the city. That was prompted by conversation at a previous meeting initiated by Karen, to think about how we can work to support the revitalization of Main Street, especially the main corridor of downtown. And so I think if we could take just a quick moment and ask Mary, I know you and Chris were on that along with Sky, and ask if any one of you would just offer a few observations before we move on to the next topic.
Well, I think we came up with a really good idea when we were going to look at the hotspot, when we were working on the hotspot, and they came up with ideas on how to improve the downtown area. And it's already been gone through all the process of, has it had engineering as well? Karen, how much of the process did it get through? So it's easy to jump on And it's already something that the community has stated they want.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it has gone through the engineering process. I think we're still just waiting to see what was potentially cut from the hotspot funding with the downtown revitalization, the side street parking was sort of the focus in that core area. And yeah, so we're seeing where we can maybe pick up some easy projects that both the city and the county could get behind.
Yeah, I think we left it and Michael was gonna do some follow-up on that plan and then get back to us. So maybe,
We need to follow up.
yeah, perhaps I will, Forrest, you and I can just send a quick check-in after this meeting.
One of the other things that was discussed, I thought was really important is that we need to up our game on advertising about the free shuttle. Get it so that it's being used more.
Of what? The free
So,
shuttle. Oh, free shuttle, yeah,
Yeah, do the, we need to
I agree.
get the word out. We need to encourage. Make sure the motels and hotels know that it's available and encourage their guests to use it rather than trying to find parking downtown. So
Well, and do we really have that much parking outside of downtown too? Like, that's been one of the big things that the city has worked on for a long time, is like, we have to have somewhere for them to park to utilize the free shuttle outside of maybe just their hotels. Is pretty much our only option at this point, but for campers and
Although I
stuff.
think they just opened up a new lot and there's.
It's getting bigger,
There's a
right?
process in place to move in that direction. I mean, the other thing that was important for us to keep in mind is for the city, I mean, I think they have a couple other big planning processes moving forward right now, and we need to pace this project in such a way that it doesn't front load too much.
Well, and they're
work and
underfunded, we know
overwhelm them.
the city is. So.
Exactly, so that's where our job in part, in order to have them be a strong partner for us in this process, is to pace things in such a way that they can really be fully on board. And so that's where finding some of the slow hanging fruit for a first year of a project is really important, while we simultaneously sort of build out a planning process to maybe do things that are more
Well, the app is
ambitious.
user friendly, but I think most people don't even realize there is an app. Even though it
Yeah.
says it right on the side of the shuttle, people aren't reading it, so.
it's like so many things, it's right there in front of them, but they don't
Right.
see it.
I do know that because one of our employees uses it regularly, daily, I do know that it's heavily used by a lot of the part-time summer workers who are in the community. And some of them are the J1 employees. And so that's a really essential service to businesses. So I think I think Chris is right. This is something that should be considered in both our strategic planning process and also working to see how the service can be extended year round. And if they get more regular riders on their regular Main Street route, they might even be more likely to do more customized courtesy individualized trips, which also extends the service to larger parts of the community. So thank you for that. Thank you for those of you who did attend that. I was really encouraged by Michael's enthusiasm for looking for opportunities for us to discuss more fully, and that we can flesh out at our meeting later this month. We will have to, that grant is due, as I said, in mid-November. So we will at least have a September and October meeting to really fully flesh out what we want to include in that application. So thank you for that. We also have another and more immediate opportunity that I think everybody saw on the email that Sky forwarded from the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and that is the Economic Assistance Grant. It's a grant that will be open to, the application process will be open tomorrow. And the application is due 2 weeks from tomorrow on September 21st. So yesterday, Sky sent an email with some more information about that grant. And what what we've suggested is that if you or other organizations in the community that you know might be interested in suggesting some ideas for deliberation, that they or you email the econdev@grandcountyutah.net email with those ideas, 2 to 4 sentences, because if we are to submit a proposal, we really need to make decisions about what we want to include and craft that proposal by sometime at the middle of next week, if at all possible. So ideally, and I'm going to rely on Sky to coordinate this, to receive those suggestions, ideas, projects, or proposals, and then convene a meeting between Monday and Wednesday of next week to really flesh those out so that the county can submit a proposal. Now, it's also important to remember that businesses can submit proposals as well. So if you have colleagues in other businesses that you think might benefit from that, read the attached summary, and then let Sky and Mimi know through the econdev@ email. Any questions about that, or clarifications or corrections? Shayla?
Or go ahead,
Go ahead.
Shayla. Just about the process in terms of proposals coming from the county or from economic development versus individual organizations. I mean, I've been in touch with a couple organizations in Moab about it since reading and getting the emails initially. And is it preferred that it run through the county? Is that a better option, or is it equal for organizations to be applying individually? What are sort of the, process wise, what's the best way to do things?
Maybe,
Colette?
since we have Colette here, we'll let her answer that
Oh,
one.
Colette's on.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Colette.
Hello. As far as the rural communities grant, only government entities can apply. And so any private businesses that have proposals that are of interest would need to go through the Economic Development Office or through the city office to suggest a project and help create an application. It's not unheard of to have public-private partnerships for these grants. However, it is the government entity that is responsible. So with this group, I want to challenge you to look at projects that could be applied for through the county, through Moab City, and then also other incorporated outlying areas outside of Moab, as you represent the entire county. So you actually may have potentially 3 or more proposals and or applications.
I think we're all over the place a little bit on just sort of reviewing the multiple options right now, but we were also just discussing the economic assistance grant specifically for that one. If the strategy is preferred to have it be sort of more county driven and navigated, or if it's direct business.
So with the economic assistance grant, that is for private entities only, and it's non-profit and for-profit businesses. So technically there doesn't have to be any contact with your office for people to apply. However, of course, their application would be stronger. So for instance, I've encouraged the Chamber of Commerce to apply individually. I encourage, you've got different parts of the free health, we keep calling it the free health clinic, but it's more than a clinic, right? There are multiple pieces to that complex. So if there are projects that, again, are economic development oriented that could fit in with the, that complex redevelopment, that is an option as well. So through the nonprofits that are running that, the housing organizations in Moab can apply for this. So lots of options, not a lot of money. This one's very competitive. There's only just over $4 million.
Would it strengthen, if you don't mind me asking another question, Colette, would it strengthen applications to have support from the Economic Development Board as members of our, organizations and businesses within our community apply, or is that not really necessary in this case?
No, I would say absolutely. An example that comes to mind is I was updated, I guess it's been 3 months ago or so, when you were spending down that TRT economic diversification money and you were supporting a project with the airline that to provide additional services. That, for instance, would be a great if they had a very strong project that they could apply for and then had support with from your office, that would look good for their application. Yes.
So could we just, as far as support from our office, we don't necessarily need to have like a special meeting and vote on this. We could just say, yes, we agree on email and do a letter of support with their application. Like it could be as simple as that.
Very simple. Yep. Very simple. Good question.
Thank you for asking that question, Chris, because it was not clear to me in reading the one pager, two pager that the applications would not come from the county, but we can still serve as a resource. And we've already done some work in the past, both with the Student Career Success Center, and we have in the past through the STAR grants funded the free health clinic and other entities in the community. And that's what I think is so interesting about this. It's a very broad, the net has been cast quite broadly in terms of who can apply. So, and I know that Lacey and Shaylee have talked about this, was interested in putting something together from the chamber. So,
well, I think we just need to make sure when we're telling people about this, that we say, hey, it will actually strengthen your application to have the support of our economic development board. So please feel free to submit it to one of our board members. They'll share it. And, it doesn't sound like we have to be limited on who we show support to. So if we're all in agreement, we could support 5 projects.
Yeah.
And just all put our little opinions into the letter. And I think the more money our county can get, the better.
Now, I'm a little concerned about open public meetings as far as making these decisions through email. That is, it's kind of a no-no. You can't, it's tricky.
We're not voting on anything though. And that's one of the big concerns, right? Like, we're not voting to submit it as the county. We're saying as a board, we're in support of this project.
As a board, you are still though subject to the Open Public Meetings Act, which means you can't deliberate over email with a quorum of the members. And anything that you wanted to send as a board, an individual member of the board expressing support for a project is certainly different than the entire board expressing support. So if the entire board were to express support, you would want to at least
Have meeting.
be on the same page.
So we can do all the prep work individually, and then if we get to a point where we have letters that we need to approve as a board, then we can do a special meeting and have deliberation.
And the meeting when we changed so that you didn't have to have a quorum at the central location, did that apply?
No, that would be in the board's bylaws.
So what do our bylaws say as far as how many people have to be present at the key location?
Versus on Zoom or something like that?
Because we changed it in the commission.
I'm not aware of
We could probably look it up, but
Yeah, we could dig into that.
because we changed it so that we could have those quick meetings and have like 2 people in the key at the chambers. And everybody else could call in on Zoom.
Because, for example, our first electronic meetings policy, we required a quorum in the chambers at what they call the anchor location. And then just recently we did away with that so that we could have, as long as we had a quorum, whether it was 5 people on Zoom, 2 in the chambers or whatever, 3 on Zoom, whatever.
Yeah, I had to have at least 1 in the chamber.
But in our original policy, it did state that we had to have a quorum in the chambers. And so I would just have to look at the bylaws and see if there's any mention of that.
And if there
there's
is,
not
let's
any
change it.
mention at all.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, because then you can have those kind of quick meetings really easily and people can check in from their work, they can check in anywhere, do a
Yeah.
5-minute meeting and it isn't as intense as getting
And how long do we have to have in advance to like notify the public
24
meeting?
hour, 24 hours for special.
And the timeline is quick on this economic assistance grant. It closes on the 21st. I suggest to entities submitting no later than the 19th, just in case there are any technical issues or anything like that. So I would say if you were to get the word out quickly and potentially hold a meeting on late next week or the 18th or even morning of the 19th, then the entities could push send on the application with your support.
Thanks all for the clarification of the process. It seems to me what we're saying is that the county can serve as a resource in making people aware of the grant opportunities, that we will not submit our own application, but we can individually support projects. And if there are projects that are particularly important, we can call a special meeting to approve a letter that goes to support the applications that we want to support. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
if you wanted a letter of support to come from the entire board.
Then we have
Right.
to have- Yeah. Well,
Okay.
That's why government moves so slow.
That's fair. That is fair. That is fair. They don't want anything done in secret, which is a good thing, right? Transparency.
You know,
Okay, well, we started off on a good note, and I'm sorry, Shaylee, were you going to say something? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the review and approval of the meetings from the minutes of our last meeting on the 23rd, just a couple of weeks ago. And I would ask if there's a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Thank you both, Chris and Shaylee. Are there any comments, questions, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I ask for a vote on that. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. And is Karen raising her?
Yes.
hand? Okay. Karen, I haven't been able to see you, but I'm glad you're with us. And I hadn't seen that Elisa was with us, so thank you. Next item is the centerpiece of our work today, and that is the projects that we intend to recommend for inclusion in our application for the 2024 Rural Counties Grant. And at the last meeting, we approved $50,000 for the Moab Community Childcare, and we approved $95,000 for the Chamber of Commerce. And we were waiting to see if we would receive a refinement to the proposal from the high school's student